Okay, let's talk about RAGES. RAGES is a tool that we will use all year in social studies to help us answer questions thoughtfully and completely. RAGES is an acronym that stands for restate the question, answer the question, give evidence, explain evidence, and synthesize. I'm going to walk you through each of these steps, and once we've done that, you will write a RAGES response. So on the next slide, let's start with R. Let me move my face. There we go. R stands for restate the question. So, an example. If you were asked the question, how does culture influence our daily lives? You would turn that question around, yes, TTQA, to say, culture influences our daily lives by. That is how you would start your response. You need to turn the question around or restate the question in order for it to be a complete RAGES response. Pretty simple, right? Not too bad so far. A stands for answer the question. So now you actually need to give me some ideas. The question is still the same over for our example. How does culture influence our daily lives? So we already have the R here, but now we added our answer. It says culture influences our daily lives by how we receive an education. The part in red is where I'm actually giving an idea that answers the question. So far I've just written a sentence. Now let's look at G. G stands for give evidence. Evidence can be a quote or a paraphrased information, and it's going to support our answer. You can think of it like proof. So for that question, how does culture influence our daily lives? Well, I'm saying culture influences our daily lives by how we receive an education. And you know, I don't know if I actually like this evidence. It just says I go to school and that is a part of my culture. I mean, yeah, that's true, but I think it needs to be more specific. So let's look at the next slide. Yeah, here we go. I like this G better. Notice it's got a thumbs up. How does culture influence our daily lives? Culture influences our daily lives by how we receive an education. I love how this starts. In Cairo, Egypt, it's being so specific. It's giving me a specific place. Some students receive religious education at school. That is proof, evidence that school or education is a piece of culture that influences our daily lives. Evidence also must be from a trustworthy source. Don't just get it from everywhere. Wikipedia is not a trustworthy source. We'll get more into that this year. So we restated the question, we answered the question, we gave good specific evidence about Cairo, Egypt, but we're not just going to leave that evidence there. We need to explain it, and that's where the E comes in. This can be the most challenging part of RAGES, I think, so make sure you listen carefully to this section. RAGES requires you to explain your evidence. So let's look at an example. Culture influences our daily lives by how we receive an education. In Cairo, Egypt, some students receive religious education at school. Here comes the E. This shows that some cultures believe it's very important for students to learn about their religion, as they also receive a classic education. I'm not just telling people about Cairo. I'm explaining why that's important. I'm explaining what that evidence shows or teaches me. Now, I will point out that we use the sentence starter "this shows" in this example, but if you look over at this yellow square, you can do "this shows," "it is important to notice," "blank means blank, therefore blank." You'd have to fill in the blanks. This is significant because even though those are all great ways to start off the E section of RAGES. Now, the last step stands for synthesize. Synthesize is kind of a big word, but all it means is to combine. You want to combine pieces of evidence to support your answer. So I already used one piece of evidence about Cairo, Egypt, but if I'm synthesizing, I need to add another piece of evidence about a different place from a different source. Let's look at the example one more time to see how I did that. Culture influences our daily lives by how we receive an education. In Cairo, Egypt, some students receive religious education at school. This shows that some cultures believe it's very important for students to learn about their religion, as they also receive a classic education. Other cultures, such as China, require students to take tests to determine what college they can go to. This is significant because it influences the time and effort students put into education so they can attend college. It is a huge part of their culture and lives. I am combining or synthesizing evidence about Cairo and China to complete my RAGES response.